Some films inspire people to do great things. Some films leave us thinking long after the credits roll. And some films, unfortunately, inspire future criminals. This is AIL. Film doesn't just entertain, sometimes it holds up a mirror to humanity's darkest moments. Movies don't exist in a vacuum. They shape how we think, how we feel, how we understand the world. For most people, films are escapism, but for some, stories become identity. They become meaningful. Going to the movies has always been one of my favorite pastimes growing up. I hold so many fond memories with friends and family around watching films. It's honestly one of the reasons I even pursued a career in filmmaking. But in rare, tragic cases, films become justification. Today, we're exploring the disturbing intersection between cinema and real life violence and what that says about us as a society. If you enjoy deep film breakdowns, cultural analysis, and pop culture psychology, this channel is for you. Martin Scorsese's Taxi Driver explored loneliness, alienation, and psychological decay. But for John Hinckley Jr., the film became an obsession. His fixation on the movie and on the actress, Jodie Foster, eventually led to the attempted assassination of President Ronald Reagan. Hinckley believed violence would make him visible, make him important, make him remembered. The film didn't create his illness, but it shaped his fantasy, and fantasy, when paired with delusion, becomes dangerous. In 2001, a 24-year-old man named Thierry Jardin appeared in the iconic screen killer mask and robe just before unaliving a 15-year-old girl. This wasn't just violence, it's a performance. The costume, the symbolism, the theatrics, all borrowed directly from the film. This is one of the darkest examples of how horror imagery can become a psychological costume, allowing people to temporarily step outside themselves and into something more disturbing. In 2024, prosecutors reported that Corey Martin used the television series Dexter to learn how to dismember and dispose of victims' bodies. This represents a deeply unsettling evolution in media influence. Not emotional inspiration, not symbolic identification, but procedural learning. Entertainment becoming instruction. It raises terrifying questions about how deeply visual storytelling can imprint itself, especially on individuals who are already psychologically unstable. Few films in modern history shaped cultural psychology, like The Dark Knight. It didn't just create a villain, it created a symbol. Heath Ledger's Joker became chaos, rebellion, nihilism, and moral collapse. This Joker wasn't just a character, he became a psychological identity. The imagery, dialogue, and symbolism spread into online culture, memes, and subcultures, especially for those feeling disconnected or isolated. In a tragic real-world event during a midnight screening of The Dark Knight Rises in Aurora, Colorado, an individual used the chaos and symbolism associated with the Joker's persona in harmful ways. While the film did not create the act, it showed just how powerful stories and symbols can be when absorbed by someone who is psychologically fragile. Not just because movies create criminals, but because myth can become identity for the troubled mind. This is where storytelling both shows its profound influence and its greatest danger. Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers was intended as a satire of America's obsession with violence and fame. Instead, it exposed a disturbing reality. Several real-life crimes were later linked to the film's influence. The movie didn't glamorize murder intentionally, but it revealed how stylized violence, when paired with media attention, can transform killers into cultural figures. And for some, notoriety becomes the goal. I can't stress this enough, but these films alone do not create criminals. There are always multiple factors like psychological instability, trauma, isolation, untreated mental illness, social alienation, but films can reinforce delusions, validate fantasies, provide narrative justification. When someone is isolated, mentally unstable, emotionally fractured, stories don't remain fiction. They become permission. And maybe what these cases truly reflect isn't just film influence, but the state of our collective mental health. Stanley Kubrick's A Clockwork Orange was designed as a critique of violence, power, and social conditioning. Instead, it became one of the earliest and most disturbing examples of cinematic copycat behavior. Following its release, a wave of violent assaults across the UK was directly linked to the film. Attackers copied clothing, dialogue, and behavioral patterns. The influence became so severe that Kubrick himself withdrew the film from UK circulation, not because of censorship, but out of fear. He witnessed what happens when disturbing imagery meets unstable minds. And maybe that's the most unsettling truth of it all, because sometimes cinema doesn't predict violence, it reveals it. Film is one of the most powerful tools humanity has ever created. It can shape emotion, identity, and belief. And with that power comes responsibility, not censorship, but awareness. Because when you start becoming aware, when you start connecting the dots, Eyes Wide Shut begins to feel less like a movie and more like a warning. If you enjoy thoughtful film and cultural analysts, subscribe to AIL. And I want to hear from you. Do you think films influence behavior more than we're willing to admit? Let's talk in the comments.